Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 28 of the LFC Podcast, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and on this edition, we have a special guest, none other than Ashlee Mobwife Gambino. Ashlee, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. First and foremost, for listeners that are new, we've had on Trap Gambino, your husband. We touched upon him judging for LFC and doing a lot with the Lingerie Fighting Championship. So I'm happy to have you on. You're doing your thing in the MMA world, the fighting world. So I got to say, first and foremost, thank you, because it's a pleasure on my end.
No problem. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So first and foremost, to get it started, I love giving people the platform to tell their story. So let's start from the beginning here, Miss Mobwife. Tell us what is it that really made you get into the mixed martial arts, boxing, the old combative nature and combative sports that it is? What made you want to pursue a career in that?
My husband brought it up to me when I was 21 years old. We were real young. I'm 28 now, by the way. And he asked if I ever thought about it. So, I went and looked at what it was. I checked it out online. I got a few books and we started training. And here we are 7 years later, and I'm a pro athlete now.
First and foremost, I'm just going to say this right now. Same age, 28. Woo! And number two, I will say this. I think that's great because, just the strengths and just everything that you've had to go through for 7 years. It's that grind that you guys went on. Now I'm seeing you're doing your thing in the boxing and mixed martial arts. Well, I got to say, that's also what I appreciate about you. You're very hard worker, and it really shows in your abilities.
Yeah, I definitely believe in working hard and doing whatever it takes to achieve your goals.
Now, I have to say this as well. Recently, and I did some research on this person, Sheena Pumastar from Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. She had some not too nice, kind of disparaging things to say about you. I believe she called you a goblin-looking bitch. She's just not very nice and disparaging words. I did some research, There's a lot of things that came out with this article, this interview that she put out there. I have seen Sheena's work in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, so I have to ask you, this is kind of out of nowhere for you. I mean, are you familiar with Sheena? What's the dealio here? Because she really took some shots at you.
I don't know a lot about her. I know that she's one of the, I guess you call them trolls. You know what I mean? Like or haters, whatever you want to label them as. And she's been talking a lot of shit for a long time. And I don't know. I get maybe it hurt her feelings that I went pro or something. Who knows? And now she's just trying to get attention. And it is what it is. I'm not impressed with anything that she's done. And if I got the chance to just fight her in literally anything, I don't care if it's bare knuckle, boxing, or MMA, just to punch her in the face, just to win a fight, I could get an easy pro win fight. So she's trying to call me out to get attention, whatever. I don't know a lot about her. I don't even know all the shit that she's talked.
Yeah, what's interesting is, I mean, whether you see, like, from an audio standpoint or a written thing, it's that one thing that just sets you off. And I think we've seen that a lot with people. You want to be the best, you want to be competitive. Then there's just, like, it's out of nowhere. It's like that, it's a snap of a finger that somebody just comes out of the woodworks and wants to call you out and do something. And personally, I think that's a fight that a lot of people want to see. And I know you're ready, and you're ready to go out there and do it, whether punch her in the face, whatever combative means that it is. So personally, I hope we get to see that in the future for you, Ashlee.
Who knows? I might fight her, I might not. If I did, it'll be an easy win. If not, I'm going to fight anyways. It's not like I'm hung up on the girl. I don't even really know who she is. So she's, I don't know, she's jealous or what. So whatever. I'll put an end to it and get my first finish and get a nice win for one of my pro wins wherever I go with it. I'll fight her in any of the different fighting types, whether it be MMA or bare knuckle or boxing. We can book anywhere, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna fight no matter what. I'm getting in shape and working harder than I've ever worked before, and I'm gonna get in the best shape of my life and just keep doing my thing. My ultimate goal is I want to be an MMA world champion. That's been my goal since I started, and I've been getting told from like my husband and one of my coaches, and they're like, oh, you should stay in boxing. You're so good at it, and you could be a world champion. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but my heart lays in MMA. I'm so good at jiu-jitsu. I love using it. And I just love MMA so much. And that's what I want. I want an MMA world title belt. And that's what I want to put in my living room. That's my ultimate goal.
Well, personally, I'm going to say this. After seeing your training vids, whether it be on YouTube or various forms of social media, pertaining to Instagram and the YouTube platforms, I got to say, we see you doing a lot of takedowns. We get to see you working a lot. You get to have fun with the family, yourself, trapping your lovely children. So I got to say, that really just shows the testament of your overall character, Miss Gambino.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, I'm going to say this. Besides, we touched upon Sheena. We talked about your MMA career. Now, I think the first time I saw you was, I know that you had a fight. You got 12 days notice for it. I did see your fight there. And I really just appreciated with you with 12 days notice. I mean, you go out there, and then I know you had an ACL meniscus tear, and I think that's what's great. I think it's just your rise from where you were to where you are now, and I think that just shows the true, again, character, and it just shows where you're going to go in the future.
Thank you. I've actually had both of my ACLs reconstructed.
Jeez.
I had ACL meniscus surgery 6 months before I got pregnant with my first daughter, who is 4 years old now. Her name's Carmela. And my other knee was reconstructed right before we came to Las Vegas. And I was just coming off a rehab for that knee when I accepted that fight in Tough Enough.
And that's the thing, like, I did see the fight, and I appreciated, again, just the 12 days notice, and I believe your opponent at the time was Christina Diaz, and I did see that fight, and I thought to myself, God dang, there's someone who's tough, there's someone who's ready to go, and I did enjoy what I saw, but I have to say this to you, again, with 12 days notice, it's something I can appreciate, because here's the thing with me, because I appreciate everybody in mixed martial arts, boxing, pro wrestling, what have you. I just think for me, I like the fact that you went in there and you gave it your all, and I really appreciate that as a combative sports fan and just an overall fight fan. I got to give you credit once more on that.
Thank you so much. I definitely obviously wish I would have done better in the fight. Everybody's like, oh, but you did so good. But nobody understands like how unprepared I was. When I come back and I fight again, everybody is going to be surprised because you're going to see a different athlete. You're going to see a different person, a different fighter. And I'm going to be a lot better. We'll just say that.
I will say this. I think what's great about this thing that we call life is we have these opportunities, and we look to make the most of our opportunities, and I think it's great that you've got that opportunity. But I think what you're saying is, and I'm just going to say this, I think it's like, I got the opportunity, but I want to make the most of my opportunities. I want to get in there, be better, and you strive to be the best, which, again, that's a great mentality standpoint for you.
Absolutely, and I'm a perfectionist. I can't help but want to be the best and do the best and have it perfect.
Right. Well, I have to say this to you as well, because besides the fighting aspect, I also wanted to ask you about, man, I got to tell you something. I've seen this Clicker the Clown stuff. I've seen art that's not tainted. You're doing your thing on the acting side of things, which is great, because I got to say, you're kind of like a jack of all trades. You dip your toe into different fields and different overall platforms. So can you tell us about the acting side of things there?
Well, I'm not going to lie. My husband kind of pushed me into that. Because I if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't be doing that. I'm very shy sometimes, but I'm glad that he's having me do these things. It's fun, and it's a lot of fun, and it's opening doors to go and do other things too that you guys might end up seeing in the future. And I don't know, but my ultimate goal in the end really is to be an MMA world champion. So that's what my main focus is on. I'm not gonna get deep into the acting world right now. That's not my goal. I don't want to get deep into pro wrestling or something like that. That's not my goal. My goal is to be an MMA world champion, and so I'm going to put all my focus on that until I reach that point.
Well, I gotta say this to you. I could say you could be like the female John Cena. John Cena did his thing in the wrestling world. It's kind of like a John Cena Rock kind of deal if you wanted to be the female version of that. But no, I definitely see the main goal and the main focus for you right now is the MMA. But I gotta tell you, I saw those clips, and personally, again, that's another thing I have to say about you. I appreciated what you did there. You get your acting chops in, again, dipping your toe in that. But I thought that was very cool because you get to see it in another different light there.
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't really have any experience in that either. So that's literally some of the very first stuff that I've ever done when it comes to acting. And so I'll definitely keep learning and getting better with that too.
That's the facial expressions, and I think what's great about that is that also helps whether it be whatever different fields. I mean, it's the facial expression, it's the storytelling, it's the psychology, and that goes with boxing, mixed martial arts, wrestling. I mean, just the storytelling and overall psychology. I mean, to quote, I'll make a Training Day reference here, Denzel Washington, this shit's chess, it ain't checkers. You know what I'm saying? For those that remember that movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's a mind game, it's a chess game. You got to put the right pieces together, checkmate, boom.
I've always said that it's a game of chess. You got to play your pieces at the right time in the right place, and that's what life is in general. It's all about split second decisions and making the right ones and doing the right thing, and that's that.
Exactly. Now, I have to ask you as well because I wanted to actually ask, because we touched upon, you mentioned pro wrestling before, and I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of tie-ins in mixed martial arts and pro wrestling over the years. I mean, my first, I think, taste of that, Ken Shamrock, when he joined the WWF in the late 90s during the Attitude Era, Tank Abbott in WCW, what Ronda Rousey did in her year tenure in the WWE, Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, who are an Invicta, now they're on the part of the NXT brand. I gotta ask you, Dan the Beast Severn, so many people that went into MMA and pro wrestling and have dipped their toes in both, sports and all overall different, fields. What do you think about the mixed martial arts pro wrestling tie-ins that we've seen for the number of years?
I think it's cool. I think it's all about entertainment to begin with anyways, and when athletes can go from one to the other, it's a neat thing to watch. I think Ronda Rousey turned out way better than any of us expected to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, she turned out better than I expected.
It's funny. Yeah, I think,
know.
well, you look at it too, like where her match, it was her and Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, Dana White in the crowd, WrestleMania, and I was saying to myself, okay, she's got this background, she's training so hard, she's very athletic, and then I saw that match, and I'm like, God, she stole the show. I mean, you saw the papers, you saw Dana White, and it turned out better than we expected. Then we just saw her this past year at WrestleMania, which would turn out to be her final match as of right now in WWE, but yeah, I mean, just you see the buzz and all this stuff, and I mean, you guys like Tyson Fury in the boxing world that just did a matchup in Saudi Arabia for WWE. So it's amazing just to see all the worlds collide. Even back in 2008, Floyd Money Mayweather. So I mean, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then that Conor Floyd fight, that was like,
yes,
that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was performing on Fremont Street at the time that this fight was coming up, and it was I was still doing the boxing thing when I was shadow boxing with people, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Give me your honest opinion. Who do you think is going to win between the Conor and Floyd fight?" And I looked at him and I said, I mean, it's kind of a death thing. It's definitely going to be Floyd. It's a boxing fight. Floyd's been doing this. Boxing is a completely different art than MMA boxing. It's 100% different. And Floyd's like, he's 50-0. He's Floyd Money Mayweather. He's going to win the fight. And he looks at me and his face gets all pale. And he goes, "No, I hope you're wrong. I so hope you're wrong." And he showed me his bet. You'll never guess how much the man bet on Conor McGregor. Okay. It was insane.
I'm curious, how much did he bet on him?
Go ahead, shoot in a ballpark.
Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine. I'm just gonna, what was it like? I'm gonna say like what, 10, 20 grand. Is it like a big amount? Well, how much was it?
He bet $30,000 on Conor McGregor.
I was in the ballpark. Okay.
He did, and he wasn't lying about it. He showed me the ticket on his phone, and I was like, "Man, if you're gonna throw the money away, you should have just gave it to me."
That's funny, but no, I look at it. By the way, you also just mentioned that. I don't mean to take you back for a second, but god dang, you talk about shadow boxing on Fremont Street. I think that's another thing that really also attracted me to you, because I see you're doing your thing with your hard work. I see you doing your thing on Fremont Street. You're shadow boxing, getting the crowd behind you. I gotta say, you're a true entertainer in that respect.
Thank you. And you know what? I learned a lot on Fremont Street, and I loved it, my time out there very much. It was so much fun. And, there's something that I've learned out there. that I feel like I've been missing in the last two fights that I was in, that I'm probably going to end up bringing back in the next one. At least, I don't know. We'll see. Because I don't know how I'm going to feel when I get there. Only time will tell. But I miss making people scream for me. I miss that entertainment factor of like playing to the crowd and getting them to yell and scream. And I want to hear that next time. I want to play to the crowd, like when I'm walking out and stuff. And I miss that. I think I'm going to bring that back when I come back and fight again. I feel like that's something that's missing. I want to hear people screaming for me, you know?
Well, of course, it's that adrenaline rush, so to speak. It's what gets you. You know what I'm saying? It's the roar of the crowd, as they say, that gets you that wants to get you to do it. It's the performing aspect, and it's also just, I always look at it like this: whether it be in combative sports, boxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever emotion it being, whether it be glad, sad, mad, what have you, or even indifferent, as long as you're getting a reaction to people, that's what makes it worthwhile.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it just the energy of like all these people feeling the same thing at the same time. It just flows through you. It's crazy. It's an amazing feeling. It's something that I never thought I would feel growing up as a kid. I never thought I'd be a performer. I didn't get into any school plays. I didn't do any of that stuff. And now that I'm doing it, I'm so grateful that my husband has brought me into this, because if it wasn't for him, I definitely wouldn't be doing it. And it makes me feel so happy that I have the opportunity to be an entertainer like this, for example, on Fremont Street, or as a pro athlete. I'm a pro fighter. That's insane to me. That's amazing. I never expected to do that when I was a kid, and I'm going to definitely take full advantage of it and work as hard as I can.
You see, I appreciate that, because I'll say this as someone we're both the same age here, and I think you can appreciate this. I think when I was a kid, I never thought that I would do this or be involved, whatever. But I've always said that I think you can have like that mentality as a child as you get into your adulthood. Like, you wanted to make a difference, you wanted to help people, you wanted to inspire and encourage, but you wanted to do something that, you wanted to create moments, and you wanted to do something that would turn heads, or, make your mark in this life and on this planet that we live called Earth. So I've always said, if I wanted to help people, I wanted to do something that, gets people talking. I think that's what you're doing. So, I mean, I could see that from the mindset from your childhood to your adulthood, if that makes sense, that analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. There was that reminds me of a story. When I was in high school, we were all sitting in social studies and we were just going through our books or whatever. The teacher just, I don't know, it was a down day or something. And I saw Britney Spears' name in the history book. And for some reason, that just triggered something in my mind. I'm like, what am I even doing here if I'm not going to be in this book? What are we even doing here if our names aren't going to be in this book? And so now that I'm doing this and I look back at that, I'm like, man, I'm actually doing something to try and inspire people and make a difference. And it makes me feel good. And that's what I want to do ultimately. I mean, yeah, I love fighting. I love fighting so much. There's nothing that makes me happier than this career. That I couldn't possibly be doing any other job right now that would make me happier than being a pro fighter. But also, I want to use the opportunity of the position of influence that I have in order to inspire people to just do what makes them happy and work hard at it and follow their dreams and not necessarily fight. If you don't want to, not everybody should fight, but I'm not saying they should copy what I'm doing. I'm saying what they should do is whatever makes them happy. If you want to make the biggest quilt that anybody's ever made in the world, then make that quilt. Build the baddest car, get a big shiny belt. That's just so happens to be what I want to do, But my goal is to inspire people to do what they want to do and what makes them happy.
Beautifully said. I'm just going to say this right now. When you were looking at that history book and you saw Britney Spears, did it give you a sign? Hit me, baby, one more time. Is that what that was? Because the key lyric in that song, give me a sign. Did it give you a sign?
That's pretty ironic. That's funny. No, I don't know why. Just because she's just this pop star, you know what I mean? And now she's in she's in the history book, and for some reason that just triggered in my head. I'm like, what am I even doing just sitting around here? I need to be doing something to be in this book also.
Hey, just on a sidebar, and I think you could tell my pop culture nerdiness since you listen to my show with Trap, and I get these music references. When I was a kid, okay, so I was young. I'm a 90s kid. I'm born in 92. So when I was like, Okay, when that song came out, I was probably like 6, 7, right? 98, 99. Like, I did not know that Britney Spears was on the Mickey Mouse Club. My first introduction was The Baby One More Time, like we mentioned there, going to the Oops, I Did It Again and where she is now. So I gotta say this,
Yeah.
and when she was on the famous Jet Jackson singing Sometimes on Disney, taking people that with that throwback. But I mean, like, it's interesting to see people like that in the history book, and because, I mean, she does have her role in history. So, I mean, that's pretty cool, though, in a way.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she made her mark.
Yes, but this is before, and I mean, she may have got a little in between when she shaved her head like Sinead O'Connor there, and she did have her moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, there
Yeah,
you
she
go.
definitely got crazy. That's what I'm saying. She's just a person. Like she's just this pop star, and she's in the history book. That's what I'm saying. Like, like nothing against her because she's so successful and she has this thing. I know she's doing these shows in Las Vegas and stuff, and that's cool. And anybody that's doing their thing, that's great. I don't know, like I want to have. I don't want to just be a regular Joe Schmo that just lives my life and then just disappears. You know what I mean? I want to make it count and do something with it.
And,
You know?
yeah, and I think it's kind of like, I'll say another lyric again, my nerdiness is showing here, but 1999 into 2000, Ice Cube and Crazy Bone had a song called Until We Rich. You got your mind right, you got your grind right, you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the amazing thing that we have with this life. Whether it be a song, whether it be like something written down, whatever, history books, what have you. It's amazing the things that influence you. Have that little thing that goes into your mind and just ignites that flame, so to speak.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And everybody's a little different. Whatever is going to ignite them to do whatever. But as long as you just stay positive and you work hard and you keep trying to do good and do things that are good for you and your family, then that's all that really matters.
Exactly. Now, speaking of good things that you've been doing there, Miss Mobwife, we got to talk about Ayanna Tramont. Can we talk about that fight? I'm going to get to Greg Fredo here in a second, but can we talk about that bout and talk about working with and fighting Ayanna?
Yeah, absolutely. I got this opportunity to turn pro and go to New York and do a pro boxing fight. The weight class was 160 pounds, which I could make. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do this. And it was kind of a short notice fight too. I think I had 20 some odd days or whatever for that. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't necessarily regularly training either. So as soon as I accepted it, I started working my butt off and got to the point where I at least wouldn't die in there. You know what I mean? And I did pretty good. If I guess for not being in the greatest shape in the world, I did as good as I could do. And now I'm just going to take that as a lesson to not be so lazy and to work harder. And now I have this opportunity as a pro athlete to really accomplish the goal that I set out to do when I started training 7 years ago.
Now, I will say this, Miss Live Like You Were Dying there. I mean, you got into shape there, you know what I'm saying? I know you talk about the short notice, but you got into shape, and I mean, I got to say, Ayanna is another one, my goodness, first of all, tall, and first of all, another one that really got in there with you, so I got to say, it made for an interesting bout and a great dynamic.
Yeah, well, she's so tall, it's crazy. So it was so hard to reach her. But, I mean, what else am I going to ask for in a weight class that big? That's not my weight class. So I'm going to work my way back down and see where I end up. I honestly don't know where I'm going to end up after having my 2 babies. Your body changes every time you have a baby. So I could make it back down to 115. I could make it down to 125, or I could be stuck at 135. We'll see once I'm in tip-top shape. I have no idea, to be honest with you.
I can't wait to see what you got coming next from fighting in your next bout. And also, I'm going to say this as a spiritual man, God bless with little babies. You got cute little babies that you're doing it for. So I just want to say God bless to you on that front.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Now, as we're doing here, it's Beauty, Strength, and Dominance. It's the official LFC podcast. Your husband has had the pleasure of being a judge at a couple of LFC events. I got to ask you, Lingerie Fighting Championship has that mix of mixed martial arts, pro wrestling, the whole nine. I got to ask you, what are your thoughts about the product?
I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. I like how they put it in a ring. I think it gives them an opportunity to really perform more, since it's like they got the pro wrestling thing going on. I know that I I know that these girls are athletes just like the pro wrestlers are too, and they're doing their thing, and I think it's great, and everybody's got their own thing. I think it's cool.
Now I gotta ask you, from looking at the product, and I'm gonna say this right now. What's great about doing this show is we get to see a lot of girls. For example, like Cindy Dandois, who has been in Invicta, who's had a couple fights in UFC, tried out for the Ultimate Fighter, who's interested, and you get to see the international exposure. People like Mia Mao Ding out of China that wants to fight here. I mean, we've seen a lot of people that have been in pro wrestling that have gone on to WWE, Impact Wrestling, NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, the whole nine. I gotta ask you, and I'm gonna say this first and foremost: is LFC, is that something you want to pursue, possibly fight in? I mean, is that something that you would consider?
No, I'm not going to be a contestant in the LFC. That's not down my lane.
Okay.
I'm definitely just going to stick to the professional MMA or boxing or even bare knuckle here or there, maybe. Who knows?
Okay, fair enough. I just figured I'd put that out there. And first of all, I got to say, I appreciate the kind words on the product because there's a lot of great people involved in it. This actually segues, Miss Gambino, because Greg Fredo. Talk about working with Greg Fredo. Greg Fredo trained a lot of the girls going into LFC 25, working with a lot of great talents that we have with LFC. So I got to ask you, Greg, who was mentored by the Floyd Mayweather Jr., and just working with that family, talk about the training and the insight that you got from Greg Fredo.
He's real good at boxing and stuff. I don't know a lot about Greg. I've worked with him a few times. He's a good guy. He helped me with the fight in New York. He came out to New York and met me there and was in my corner. He's real good at pads and stuff. I don't know a lot about his history. He's a nice guy. He's a great coach. He's so good at boxing. I can't really say much else. Like I said, I haven't been around him enough to really have like a lot of insight,
Okay, fair enough, but I gotta say this to you. I thought that was cool, and that put a smile on my face, because as someone, and I look at it like this too, and this will all tie in and correlate, so take this ride with me, Ashlee. I look at people like Raul Ramirez, Catch Wrestling Alliance based in California, help train, for example, one of our fighters, Jenny Bloody Valentine. We get to see people like Greg Fredo helping training there. I think it's great to also learn that tutelage, whether it be a short period of time, long period of time. I think it's great to pick people's brains and just help train, and I think he did a great job with your fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I have to thank him for helping me get that fight and whatnot. And I'll train with him again now that I'm back in Las Vegas. I'm sure I'll see him, here and there. I'm going to do whatever my husband directs me to do, because that's how I'm successful. That's how I've gotten to the point where I'm at today. I do what he tells me to do. He's like, hey, you got to train here. You got to do this. You got to train like this today. And I say, okay, I'll do it. Every time I go to the gyms, I come back and I tell him, hey, this, and this happened today. He says, all right, well, when you go back, I want you to do this, this, and this. And literally every single time I go and I do what he said to do, it helps me and I get better. And so that's just what we do. He directs me and I follow, and I work hard and he works hard, and we're successful together.
I gotta say this about your husband there, first and foremost, where he's not looking so fly with his button-down shirt, his shades, the whole nine there. I gotta say, and I've told him this, and I'll say this, he's kind of like that Ric Flair. All he gotta do is start strutting. All he's gotta say is, my shoe costs more than your house, the whole nine there. He's got the fly factor about him. That's what he does. Besides being the entertainer that is, and being like the overall complexion and the style that he portrays, I have to say this, the dude has a mind, and I can see it shines through with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that made me fall in love with him. There's a million. I could sit here and talk about a million different things that made me fall in love with him. I love my husband so much. And we've been together for a little over 11 years now. And he knows me very well.
Let me tell you something right now. 11 years. I've always said this because I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that true love. Because when I was a kid, and God rest their souls, my grandparents got married in the late 50s. And I got to say, but when my grandfather died, they were married for 43 years. And I've always said, if I wanted a marriage like that, I would definitely want to have something like my grandparents. So I appreciate that. That's true love, and that's going to last eternally. I know we're going to spiritual route there, but I can appreciate that.
Yeah, but that's okay. And I feel like so lucky to have the relationship that I have. I know there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time looking for somebody that would be good for them or whatever. I also believe that everything happens for a reason, and so everybody's got their own path, and I got super lucky with mine, and I have an amazing husband, an amazing family, and now a pro fighting career take care of and see what I can do with.
What I want to actually ask you is, and I think that's great that you mentioned the pro fighting stuff, whether it be boxing. I know you mentioned mixed martial arts. I've always told people in regards to LFC, it's kind of like Invicta with less closing. Now, I've seen Shannon Knapp's promotion Invicta, a lot of great talents that went on to wrestling careers, mixed martial arts careers. They just signed Serena De Jesus, the first ever female, autistic MMA fighter. So I got to ask you, would Invicta be something that you would want to pursue in the future? That being the great women's mixed martial arts promotion that it is?
I think Invicta's great. I think it's awesome that it's an all-female thing. I really don't know where my path is going to bring me. I'm just going to play it by ear. That's how it's always been. To be honest, my ultimate goal in the end is to get a UFC belt. That's what I want, because that's what everybody pays attention to. Everybody cares about the UFC, so that's what I want. I want to go and take a UFC belt and then go from there. I'm not saying I'm ready for the UFC right now, because I'm not. I need to get in shape before I can make an approach to that. And I'm not in near good enough shape to go there, but I'll know when I am. And when I'm in shape, that's what I want. I want the UFC belt.
Well, I'm going to say this right now. You're kind of like Neil Patrick Harris and Harold Kumar go to White Castle, wherever God takes you. And I'm going to say this not to just be funny because that was a funny movie, but as far as how that quote is, I'm going to say this to you. Wherever God takes you, it's going to be good. And I truly wish you nothing but the best and continued success on your path, Miss Mobwife.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Now, I got to say this to you. And first and foremost, I'm actually going to put the overture out to you. Anytime you want to come back on the show, shoot the breeze, and have fun, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, sounds good to me. I love doing shows. I love doing interviews. I love getting asked questions. The more the merrier for me.
All right, my last pop culture reference, I will say this. In regards to Sheena Starr, Jealous Ones Still Envy, it's not just a Fat Joe album. Boom. So you can take that analogy for it is. No, but...
Yeah, you know what? Jealousy and things like that will eat away at you. And sometimes people have self-esteem issues that bring them to feeling that way. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know much about the girl. All I know is that she's not a very impressive fighter. And if she's going to keep talking, then I wouldn't mind smashing her and getting a pro win and then moving on with it.
All right, well, I will say this about you, Miss Pro Fighter. All right, here's what we talked about inspiring and encouraging. Do you have any advice for any guy or gal that wants to pursue a career in fighting, mixed martial arts? What advice would you give them?
My advice is to not quit, because you're going to get hurt. And I mean, it's a career in fighting. You're not going to just come in and not going to accidentally get punched in the face today or eat a knee while you're rolling in jiu-jitsu today. Accidents happen while you're training, and it hurts. And if you really, truly love it, then you're going to ignore that, and you're going to keep getting better and keep working out. But it's not for everybody, and you should recognize that. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you shouldn't do it, and you should find something else. If you don't enjoy it, that's when it's not fun anymore. That's in my opinion, that's when it's time to find something else to do. But if you really do enjoy it and you work hard and you just stay determined and you actually do good with your diet and you keep working out, and you don't just work out, when you go to the gym and train, you have to work out at home too in order to really truly be successful. I mean, some people don't understand that. Then that's what it takes. That's the secret, is to work hard and be determined and then not give up. Because, your body's going to hurt. You're going to get sore. But that's how you know you're working. And if you're not sore, then you're doing something wrong.
Again, words to adhere by. Check out Ashlee Mobwife Gambino. And Ashlee Mobwife Gambino, I'm going to say this to you before we have you promote your social media, upcoming events, the whole nine. I call this podcast Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And I have two of my biggest influences, my mom and my grandmother, God rest her soul. So I'm going to tie in and correlate that to you, Miss Mobwife, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, and exudes and accentuates you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate the message that you're sending, and I appreciate you having me on here. And anytime that you want to have me back, feel free to hit me up, and I'll definitely come back on the show. If anybody wants to follow me with my social media, they can follow at The Mobwife on Instagram. I have a Facebook too, but I'm more active on the Instagram, so that's probably your best bet to just go there.
All right, the link to your Instagram will be below this page as well, and I will say this finally to my LFC fans. LFC 30 takes place Valentine's Day. We got Stacy Stalo Rio coming in, IBF featherweight champion. It's going to be fun in the world of LFC, and it's going to be great to see the progression of Ashlee Mobwife Gambino. And I will say this to you, Ashlee, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege. I can't wait to have you back on the next episode. So once again, I just want to say thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you again for having me on here.
My pleasure. For Ashlee Mobwife Gambino, my name is Mike Larkin. This concludes episode 28 of LFC Podcast, the official LFC Podcast, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance. Stay tuned for the next episode, and I'll talk to you soon.